Well, well, well. So here we are. Hello, everyone, and my very special guest today, someone who I just love chatting with. It's Tigra Lee Campbell. And Tigra, I'm so very, very grateful that you've decided to give me a little bit of your time to chat and to share your experiences on my YouTube channel, Dare to Fulfill Your Dreams. And I know, Tigra, that you have a lot of experience. You have a lot to share. You have a lot of words of wisdom and encouragement for a lot of our female friends. And so I'd like to say that very warm welcome to you. And in as much as my page talks about people migrating, making a move from one country to the next is huge, but also making any move, any step forward to make a change in your life is an experience all by itself. So whether it's a city or whether it's a province, so we would bear that in mind, Antigua. So I'd like to say welcome. So tell us a little
Thank
bit
you.
about yourself and what jumps straight to mind as you'd like to share with us on Dare to Fulfill Your Dreams.
Thank you so much, Susan, for having me. This is really awesome. I so a little bit about myself. My name's Tigra Lee Campbell. Obviously, I've lived in Lloyd for about 5 years now. I am a mom of three, and I am a business owner here in Lloyd. I own a mobile grooming um, a mobile pet grooming business. So I groom in the pet's home. Um, I really like the fact that you said it could be any change, like not just migrating here from another country, but moving within provinces, or even moving within mindsets as well. That's a really big one. I am in recovery, so January was my 5 year clean and sober date. It was a big date. Thank you. It was a big date. And that's for me the first thing that pops into mind. It was a big change. Not only was I changing an entire lifestyle, but I also changed cities at the same time. So I lived in Edmonton for from 2008 until 2016, so 8 years. And it was a struggle. I have I have a history and a background with trauma, specifically childhood trauma, and I didn't realize how many areas that had manifested into subconsciously regarding emotions, difficulty maintaining relationships, trust issues, abandonment issues. And really wasn't until I started my the first time I tried to get clean and sober, that was when my eyes were really opened on how these things can really affect you and manifest in different ways in your life. So I when I got clean, I met my boyfriend, which is, they tell you not to have any sort of relationship within your first year of recovery, and I do stand by that. Um, so my experience is an exception; it's not the rule. But I feel like everyone's experience is going to look a little bit different. Everyone's recovery looks different as well. Um, I met my boyfriend in Edmonton. He was my knight in shining armor. He we I explained to him. Okay. Let's start from the beginning. Um, I saw him at West Edmonton Mall, and I sat down and I asked him for the time. And I made up this excuse that, I got stood up on this date because I didn't want to tell him that I was homeless and I had nowhere to go.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I kind of like fibbed so that, and we started talking, and we spent the weekend together, and I basically came clean with everything. I said, I'm really addicted to drugs and alcohol. I have a daughter who was 4 at the time. I really wanted to get clean and sober. I wanted to have my daughter back in my life. And it was just, it's crazy how things just happen when they're meant to
Absolutely.
happen.
Yes.
Because when this all happened, my the court process was just about to start. Like, I didn't, Summer, my oldest daughter, she wasn't apprehended. I had decided, I wasn't being a good mom. I had just got evicted from my place. I really wanted her to be in an environment where she was loved, and somewhere where she was safe, and just the given the things that I wasn't able to give her at that moment as a mother. Um, it was a really, really, really hard decision to do. So I told Aaron that, and yeah, so they were trying to take my parental rights away. He said that he was gonna bring me back to Lloyd. I came to Lloyd with literally nothing. Nothing. The clothes on my back and a little purse. I'm not joking you. That was the size of that. Like, there, you could fit nothing in there. It was so small. So he brought me back to Lloyd, and it was definitely a struggle, because there's a difference between running away from your problems, um just because you move cities or move far away. If you don't have that change in mindset, you're gonna bring those things with you as well. So, but a recovery is hard. The starting process is
Yeah.
really hard. I remember my first 2 weeks, and it was it was such a struggle. And then I remember my first month, and then I remember my first 3 months. And unfortunately, at that time, like, old habits die so hard, so I did end up
Yes.
relapsing. But he supported me through that, and I'm really, really grateful for that. And so I did relapse. I started going to recovery meetings at the mental health and addiction building here. They have a really great program there. I started to go to AA meetings and NA meetings, and yeah, so it was a rocky start, but now my life has changed in the most
Incredible
unbelievable way.
ways.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, Tigra, is that I'm sure, well, maybe I should ask, while you were transitioning into all of this, um, from the story and everything, it seems to me that you had this burning desire for the change, to do something for yourself,
Mhm.
have dreams, as well as combine that with a little bit of your cultural background. Because one of the main things that I try to put forward, in this conversation, and the conversations that I'm going to have with other women, is that because we come from different cultural backgrounds, it somehow weaves itself into our experiences and somehow makes it a little different. So give us a little bit about your background and how that may have had its different subtle effects in terms of fulfilling your dreams and moving
Mhm.
forward.
So that's a really difficult one to weave into a situation. Um,
Your mixed
okay,
cultural background, you have a
I
mixed
do.
cultural.
Yeah, so my mom is Jamaican, and she was brought here as from a little girl. She was probably about 11 or 12 when they moved here from Kingston. And then my father is Indigenous.
Wow.
Um, my but I didn't I was raised by my grandmother on my mom's side. So I was raised in my household was all black, all Jamaican, very Jamaican.
Wow.
And I didn't get to meet my dad until I was 19. I was raised in Ontario and he lived here. So the cultural, I identify as black, I identify as Jamaican, very strong-willed, very stubborn, very
You got some
can't tell me
Caribbean
what to
roots.
do. Yeah, yeah, and I think that, and that's how I saw my grandmother too, as the matriarch. um,
Right.
she um, she raised. I would have been the sixth that she raised as a single mom
Yeah.
in Ontario. Very like the, to say the struggle was real was an understatement.
Statement. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think I do pull a lot of my strength from her, and pull a lot of my strength from just seeing the dedication. And I think that now what makes it even stronger is that we were raised in what we were raised with,
Right.
and there nobody's perfect, no parent is perfect, and we all make mistakes. And I think that the conversations that were had later in life, um they're selfless, and I really appreciate that, and that's something that I'll be bringing into my own life as well. um
Absolutely.
so um but also being biracial, it is also confusing at the same time,
That's
because
interesting. Tell
yeah,
us about that.
I'm very light skinned, obviously. I'm raised in a house with very dark skinned, beautiful women. And then I went to a predominantly black school as well. So, but I didn't act black. I liked piercings, I liked black makeup, I liked heavy metal, I liked screamo music. So
Yes.
I was always told, like, you're not black enough.
Yes.
You're not acting like this, which it was especially when you're so um what's the word, susceptible to these things as a
Yes.
child. Like,
That's right.
it was so confusing, like up
Right.
until just the last couple of years. Now I've been really starting to embrace my own blackness and what that
Right.
means to me.
Yes.
I think that's really important, especially as women. Like, to feel connected, that sense of
Yes.
connectedness is really important.
And let's talk a little bit about the First Nations part of you.
Mhm.
How is that represented within you? How do you feel about it? How do you immerse that part of it?
I struggle with it, to be 100 with you, Susan. Like, because I wasn't raised with the
Yeah.
culture,
Yeah.
it's hard for me to identify. And it's just been recently where I've been more openly saying that I do have Indigenous
Right.
in me, um, especially doing the work that I am now. And The amount of cultural appropriation that is in the forefront right now.
Right.
Everybody and their cousin or their sister is some sort of Cherokee princess. So that's one thing that I'm very aware of, that I don't ever want to culturally appropriate anything.
Yes.
I like My dad has addiction issues. He has issues that stem from intergenerational trauma and residential schools.
Yeah.
And I think that, in a sense, I am I do feel those ramifications, just because
Yes.
I never had him as a part of my life due to those issues. But I can't say that I've grown up in an Indigenous culture, because I
Yes.
I just haven't. So it's I it's
You're in
hard.
a
I
very
don't know.
unique situation, I must say, absolutely unique. But I have to say that, within it all, judging from your aura, your persona, and everything. Let's talk about your success stories now, because certainly you have embraced all of this, and you have
Mhm.
certainly moved on. And so
Yeah.
let's talk about your success story, where you are now, how you feel about yourself, and what words of inspiration you'd like to impart on young
Okay.
women like yourselves.
Absolutely. Um, Today I live in a beautiful home. It's small, it's perfect for us, but it's a huge step up from where I was 6 or 7 years ago, homeless in Edmonton. I have three beautiful daughters now, and an amazing man that supports me. Um, the clarity that I have, I don't have to worry about housing insecurity. I don't have to worry about food insecurity. Um, those things that pre pre rock bottom, I
Yeah.
definitely took for granted. Um, and now that I have that experience of being houseless and going without, I can 100% resonate and relate to um,
Yeah.
both sides of the spectrum, if you will, the houseless and the successful. Um, I started a business, something that I never thought that I would do before, in an area that I didn't really know that I had a passion in it. That
Wow.
actually fell into my lap. I was asked if I could come and help out at a shop, and I said yes. And it turns out that I am a good dog groomer, and I like to dog groom, and that's what I mean, like things just happen when they were supposed to
Absolutely.
happen. And um I learned that if it doesn't feel right in that moment, don't force it. Like
Right.
there is a difference between persevering, and there's a difference between um overcoming obstacles and barriers. But then there, on the other side, there's just forcing something that isn't supposed to be at that time.
Wow. And so now, in terms of your long-term vision, and this is where I really like to use the term dare to fulfill your dreams. What,
Mm-hmm.
let's say in the next, I'm not going to put a timeline. I'm just going to ask you, what are your long-term visions? You're relatively young. I should say
Mm-hmm.
you're very young.
No,
You're
I'm
very young.
relatively young. We can leave it there. Yeah.
You are still very young. So, what is your ultimate dream for yourself? Where do you want to
Mhm.
go? And I know for a lot of us, it's baby steps, and that's okay. And
Yeah.
for us, others have long-term goals, and that's awesome as well. But what would you
Right.
like to share with us?
Right now, I'm still in the short-term goal mindset. My group, Lloydminster and Vermilion for Equity, we're still fairly new. So I would like to lay down some more roots with our foundation, um, get more involved in the community, um, set up more supports as well. So when people do come to our group with questions or concerns, we'll have a better relationship with the community. So we can say, you're struggling in this area, see these people, or you're struggling in this area, you can see these people, or, this person's a really great person to connect with. So that's a short-term goal for that, for my group. Um, um,
And so this group, what is your role in this group? And a little bit about what the group is all about.
okay. Um, it's hard for me to put labels on things, but if I must, I'm the president of this group. Brad Gallimore, he's the vice president of our group, and we have two other um, two other members, and then technically we have three other members, but one's just not on paper right now.
Okay.
Our group is a um, an anti-racism, diversity and inclusion, an equity group. We started as a protest after George Floyd died. We knew that activism and protesting, sorry, is only one part of activism, and we knew that we needed to continue bringing awareness and educating our communities on systemic racism, the truth of our history,
Yes.
and where we actually come from. Um, and like I said, we really wish to be that conduit for resources in our community, and to support the social aspects of it, mental health,
Yeah.
addictions services, counseling, and things like that, to really, and the youth services. That's a really big aspect, is the youth services. Um, so we can support our community at these basic, if you think about them, they're basic levels, so
Yes.
that we can nurture them and help them grow, and so they're not growing as a stereotype, if
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that's where our group is. it's like I said, it's still fresh, so I know it might change a bit in the next few years, which I'm
Yes.
hoping it will, and it's going to grow and explode into something awesome, more awesome than it already is. But yes, that's a little bit about my group.
Got it. That's awesome. And more, I was looking at the fact that this is about diversity and inclusion. And from the little bit that you have probably experienced, because you said the group is fairly young, um, do you find more of the commonalities with the struggles in different diverse groups as there are differences? I guess what I'm alluding to is that embracing diversity and still helping others with these issues, is that a struggle? Or you focus more, well, I mean, I shouldn't ask you how you focus. Maybe I should ask you if that is a struggle, dealing with the different diversities and yet knowing that the issues are all the same.
Yeah, it's a that's a really good question, because the struggles are the same. They're not obviously 100% the same, but they are very similar. There's obviously exceptions to the rules. But what I'm really starting to learn right now um, is that lateral violence within these communities is a real thing. I think that the colonialistic settler type of um, subconscious programming is very real, and everybody is affected by it. I really do feel like it's 100% necessary that we are also checking our own subconscious bias, and actively working to uncover those within ourselves, because nobody is perfect and nobody is safe from these things, because it's in everyday life that we're seeing, the lack of representation on television, in the media, in ads, in our schools, in our literature, in our histories. Like, it's there and it's presented like that for a reason. So if we're not actively uncovering these things within ourselves, we're just perpetuating these issues. So yeah, I think the struggles are similar, but and it's going to take a lot of work, individual work from
Right.
everybody. We hear all the time, like in this work, um all my friend I have lots of friends of different colors, or like even my kids are different colors, and you know yes, you have children, and yes, you have friends that are of different colors and backgrounds, and they're diverse, which is awesome.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that you're not capable of having these subconscious detrimental
Yes.
biases. Hmm.
Absolutely. Well, I think I will have to agree with you. I myself, from another diverse background, and we all have our stories and we all have our struggles. But I think that when we go through these struggles, we try not to lose sight of our ultimate goals,
Hmm.
whether that be encouragement, wisdom, sharing experiences. We've moved from one place to another, but that we
Hmm.
can still make a difference. So on
Absolutely.
parting, on parting, I would like to ask, what are your words of wisdom and encouragement you would like to share for young women coming up? And I say young women coming up because this is an environment where we focus on the women who have gone through the struggles and trying to make a difference. But from where you sit, what would be your parting words of wisdom and encouragement, daring to fulfill your dreams?
My parting words would be to, never give up is such a cliche. Like, I think it's a cliche phrase, but what I mean by that is there are always going to be obstacles. There are always going to be barriers. Um, that's just how life is, but there's always a way around them. Always. If one way doesn't work, there's always another way. You just need to find it. And take time for self-care, take time for self-healing, take time to let things sink in, to digest, you know, certain situations or things that might have happened, whether they're good or bad. And yeah, self-care is really important. Be kind to yourself. Um, be very aware of the self-talk that happens. That's, you know, a lot of our biggest downfalls. We're our own worst critics. But that self-talk it can be very great and it can help you, but it also can be very detrimental to your spirit. So those are a couple things that I would suggest.
Thank you so very much, Tigra, for chatting with us. I mean, I enjoy this conversation immensely. And I say conversation because, you know, sometimes we look at these chats, you know, like just you tell me about yourself and I ask you a question, but it's really a conversation and a sharing.
Mhm.
And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you so very much. I wish you all the best success.
Thank
And I
you.
love connecting and communicating. So we're going to be doing some follow-ups if that's okay with you. So thank you
Yeah,
so much
absolutely.
for joining us. I totally appreciate it.